Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Becoming a Professional. We are at WTF Media Studios in New York City. I'm pretty stoked for today's guest as we are in the presence of an artist in the accounting world. Not only does he have his CPA license, but he also has his MBA in marketing and finance and was featured in CFO magazine. Please welcome the award winning songwriter, Steven Zelin, aka the Singing CPA. Woo woo!
Hey,
Yeah.
Riley. It's great to be here.
Yeah, how are you doing? How are you doing?
Really great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and this is your hometown, right? Are you from New York area?
Yeah. I grew up in Brooklyn and I got my passport and I moved to Manhattan.
Okay, not bad. That's what's up. And also, just normal housekeeping. We do this every time. Just a disclaimer: the opinions in this podcast are our own and may not reflect the position of Beta Alpha Psi or our respective employers as a whole. But I mean, you have your own practice, so you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so we can just jump right into it. Love to just the title alone for this episode, work life balance with the singing CPA. So you'll kind of get an idea of what uh, the type of questions that we'll be going into. But before we even get into that, let's get into your origin story. So, Stephen, where did you go to school and what made you decide to major in accounting?
Well, I went to Sheepshead Bay High School in Brooklyn, and when you're in high school back in the olden days, they gave you a big thick book
Hmm.
of colleges, and so I opened up the book and I started with A, and I came up with Alfred University. It's a small private school near Rochester,
Okay.
and it was really great liberal arts school, and they have a good business school. And I took a lot of business classes. I knew I wanted to kind of do something in business.
Okay.
So when you got to to college, they give you a big thick book and they ask you
Hmm.
what you want to major in. So I started with A and came up with accounting. Well, no, not really, but I knew I wanted to do something in business,
Yeah.
and so when I took a lot of the business required classes, I saw that I was pretty good with accounting, and a lot of other people weren't, and they were dropping out like flies, and so I looked into that as more of a career. I spoke with my accounting professor, who was the head of the accounting department, and he told me how accounting has a good it's good for stability, and like every business needs an accountant, and that if you're good at it, it's really that helps too. Like
Oh,
it comes naturally, if you to me.
I like it. There you go. And then, so with being at a liberal arts college, were there any like student organizations that helped you with those professional development skills? Were there any like student organizations, kind of like Beta Alpha Psi, that help our members kind of get them ready to transition into their career?
Well, we certainly had a Beta Alpha Psi chapter. I'm not sure how active it was
Oh
back
yeah.
then, but certainly I was like the treasurer of the student government. I used to play my guitar at like basketball games and swimming meets, and I was like the treasurer of the student senate. I wrote an article for the school newspaper. So I tried lots of different clubs, the astronomy club, they're everything. I think when you're in school, you should really just try to explore, all the different clubs and extracurricular activities, and also take any classes that interest you. So for
Yeah.
example, I took a lot of music classes when I was in school. Even though I was majoring in accounting, I also took singing lessons and guitar lessons and piano lessons, and so that really kind of helped round out my academic career.
So not only are you having like that work life balance in your career, but just in your education, it was super important to have, like you said, a well rounded education.
Yeah.
All right, I love it. Well, going into your professional career, what did the initial stages of your career look like after college?
Well, after I graduated with an accounting degree, I worked at PricewaterhouseCoopers, which
Okay.
is a large accounting firm. And I was actually in the first class of the merged firm when Pricewaterhouse and Coopers and Lybrand merged, back then. And so, so that was really fun and it was cool. And it was very professional. There's a lot of really great, smart people. And, we worked on like big clients and had a lot of, I was in the audit and assurance,
Gotcha.
division. And so, we worked on a lot of different projects. But in addition to doing audit, I also helped, write proposals for new clients. And I also worked on some internet companies and some banks and broker dealers. And so I had a variety of different, types of projects.
Okay. So definitely the variety of clients to choose from and really get to figure out like what you like going into your career and then kind of just building upon that. Got
Mhm.
it. Well, I have to ask because we have the singing CPA here. Like, how did you get started in your singing career?
Well, my best friend in high school, Eddie,
Hmm.
taught me how to play the guitar. And so we used to play Nirvana and Queensryche and Metallica,
Old school. Love it.
and we had a great time. And I love playing guitar and I love singing. And like I said, in college, I continued to take classes, and when I started working at Price Waterhouse, some of the accounting stuff kind of slipped in, into my lyrics and the songwriting, and it was really a lot of fun because I have a little bit of a sense of humor, and that's why I
Hmm.
like to write
Hmm.
funny songs, and so it was fun to make funny songs about accounting, and so include them in like with like famous songs with accounting themed lyrics.
Right, right. And so, and it's very relatable too. I mean, if for any of our listeners who have already done a year or two in public accounting, you can really tell where your lyrics are coming from. That it's like, okay, yeah, this is definitely relatable. I totally understand going from my 80-hour work weeks, and it's like you can see a lot of the nuances in public accounting be pulled into your lyrics. So that was something I thought was just brilliant.
Thanks.
And so, but it's crazy even to think about having a life outside of public accounting because y- I guess when you're starting out your career, you're kind of married to the job. So how did you manage that pursuit of your hobbies and passions with having a career in public?
Well, I think that there's work life balance, and I think there's also work life integration. And I think that if you can, I think that by doing things outside of accounting, you're actually helping with, whatever your job is, in like, for example, in accounting. And so, bringing some of the unstructured, you know, items, from music per se into accounting, really feel helps me look at things differently from a
Yes.
different perspective. And so by like reading magazines in other industries or going to parties or events in different industries that interest you outside of accounting, I think really help to kind of broaden your kind of like, so your overall perspective and
Hmm.
kind of well-roundedness. I mean, I think if you're just kind of doing accounting all the time or just talking about accounting all the time, then it can be relatively, insular. But I
Hmm.
think if you kind of broaden your horizons and think about things in different perspectives, then you can you can like think of it in different ways and new ways. And also, I think a lot of what we do in accounting is really about relationships and concepts. And so I think that by exposing yourself to different aspects of like of life outside of like working, then you're also a more interesting person, and then you can talk to people in a different way and build those relationships in a different way.
For sure. No, I totally agree because it's just so important to have that creative outlet. Like it really does give you a different perspective going into into your whatever project that you have that week. So Wholeheartedly, I agree with you. And so I guess right now the CPA profession has been kind of taking a hit with trying to have trying to grow its workforce. So I know you do a lot with promoting the CPA profession. What are you looking for in potential candidates during the hiring process?
Well, we usually look for people who, want to do the job,
Hmm.
can do the job, and will do the job.
Has a pulse. Yeah.
Having a pulse helps,
Yeah.
you know, um, and not 100% necessary all the time, with Chat GPT.
Okay.
But
Yeah. Yeah.
certainly it helps. We want people who want to make a difference, in our
Hmm.
clients' businesses and in our clients' lives, and really have an impact. And I think that when you're in public accounting, you're always learning, and you're working on really interesting projects, and you're you're really adding value, and you're helping. No matter what project you're doing, whether you're doing an audit or a tax return, or even a sales tax return or payroll, you're helping someone achieve their goals, and you're really, making a difference, and you're teaching, constantly, and you're building relationships.
Yeah, I feel like you have to really have that hunger to learn, just wanting to know because the CPA profession, it's I feel like it's ever evolving. Like, yes, we have compliance. At least for me, I have a tax background. And so having that annual compliance, it's like you have your busy season, you're going through the motions of that yearly cycle. But the industry changes, the rules change. There's always um things to look out for year to year, at least on the tax side. I'm sure it's the same thing on the in the audit assurance side.
Hmm.
Um, but just having that, like, hey, it's something that we have to be on top of. I mean, that's why we have CPE, right?
Right. And there are a lot of conferences and networking opportunities. And again, you have your clients in tax, and you can and if you have an idea and you have a good relationship with your clients, and you know what their goals are, then you can help them achieve their goals. And so when you go to these CPEs and you hear about some new rule, you can see how it might apply to them. Or if it's like a nonprofit organization and you hear about a grant that they might qualify for, then then you can seek out those opportunities, and tell them about it. So I think there's a lot of opportunity to add value.
Right. Exactly. And so now looking back though, what have been some of your favorite memories, whether it's having your own practice or even your from your singing career?
Well, I definitely love, singing in front of the post office on 33rd Street and 8th Avenue on tax day.
Yes.
I did that many, many times on
Saw the videos. I love it. It's
thing.
awesome.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun to kind of, relieve the stress and the pressure, for people filing their taxes at the last minute.
Mhm.
So I think those are some of my favorite, memories. I also love, the feeling, with my team when all the tax returns are e-filed and they're all done, and we can pack up and go home.
Mhm.
And so that then the tax season is over, and then we do a little tax season recap to see, what went right, you know, what can what needs improvement,
Mhm.
and we always want to sharpen the saw and make things better for next time.
For sure. No, I completely agree. And also, kinda looking back during my time in public accounting, the 415 parties also were pretty cool. So that was also a good time. Always a good time.
Yeah, I
Like,
agree. I definitely want to celebrate your success.
for sure. And so, moving forward, what can we expect in the future from the Singing CPA?
Well, actually, I'm working on a new album,
Oh my gosh,
and it should
yes.
be available in early 2024 with funny songs about taxes and accounting. And so, yeah, so I'll definitely send you some clips if you want,
Send it our way.
and
Send it our way. We'll
I'll
definitely
definitely keep
post a
in
couple
touch.
snippets. Yeah.
Perfect.
And so that's all the time that we have, unfortunately. Next, we're gonna have you back on to do a live performance because why not? And like we're here, so it's something that we can definitely look forward to. But Stephen, thank you so much for being on the podcast. I This has been a great pleasure for me.
Thanks so much. I had like a great time.
Of course. And so thank you. Thank you to the listeners for tuning in to this week's episode. Be sure to like, subscribe, and follow us from whatever platform you're tuning in from. Also, check out the show notes for our various social media pages and official BAP swag. We'll also post links to Steven's um, social media as well. So we'll definitely get that from you to blast that out to our listeners. Uh, Stephen, thank you again for guesting on the podcast. It was such a pleasure to have you and hear your story. So, in with that, we'll see you on the next episode of Becoming a Professional. Hey everyone, Riley here with the credits. This episode, titled Work Life Balance with the Singing CPA, was hosted and produced by yours truly, Riley Ramos, and accompanied by our special guest, Steven Zelin. The episode was sourced and edited by WTF Media Studios in New York City, so be sure to check out the studio. Music was sourced from Resolute Audio and Fine Tune Music on Adobe Stock. Thanks again for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next episode of Becoming a Professional.